Podcast where I have Jacob Neffendorf on from Rise Online Ads. We've been doing this every other week pretty consistently for the last several months, talking Facebook ads, pricing, land clearing, gross profit margin. Should you share stuff on your website? Jacob, what are people going to learn today?
Today, they're going to learn how to get over their beliefs about pricing and make sure that Google and AI will recommend them to their potential customers so they don't lose money.
So you just did a webinar on this where you went deep with Marcus. Is that right?
Yeah, and I won't take too much credit. Marcus Sheridan did the teaching because he is a killer marketing guru, blue collar guy who's been in the business since 2001 and has now helped people go from 8 figures to 9 figures using this exact principle because people just are scared of it. But this year specifically, this week specifically, it is so important. And roofing, HVAC, plumbing, blue collar guys, they're investing millions in infrastructure for this right now. Land clearing world, our world, we have a little more grace, but not much. Eventually, Google and AI are going to make us all do this. You might as well do it early and scoop up a huge unfair advantage and grab a big market share and make a ton of return on investment right now.
By the end of this episode, if people choose to stick around, what are they going to learn?
You're going to learn exactly what you need to do for Google and AI and Google's AI to recommend you before your competitors and for you to have the number one trust signal that Google and AI want to see.
Perfect. Let's dive straight into it. What is the first thing that a land clearing guy or a blue collar entrepreneur can do right now to take advantage of this early opportunity?
The 101 right now is just start talking about pricing every day. That would be the simplest, easiest way in your posts, in your pictures, in your videos, in your website. You need to have pricing information available. The 201 of that, have an actual pricing page on your website or at the bare minimum in your frequently asked questions. How much does it cost to clear land? How much does it cost to replace my water heater? Whatever. And then the next step of that is actually being able to provide an online instant estimate that the customer can get without ever talking to you.
So, blue collar guys, if you're tuning in this podcast and you're in a different industry, we're going to talk about this in the context of land clearing, but take the concepts that we talk about in pricing and apply those to your industry. All the concepts that Jacob and I are talking about, it's why I love having him on, is because he has committed to one specific industry and land clearing, and he has gone all in on this thing. And so he's able to talk very intelligently to the different things and the different topics that we've talked about. And if you're still listening and you're in excavation, you're in grading, you're in landscaping, hardscaping, tree service, take the concepts and then apply it to your industry. So getting pricing on your website. What's like the basic 101 that if I'm going to my website, guy or gal, like, hey, this guy Jacob, I listened to him on a podcast. He said I need to get my pricing on the website. From a structure perspective, where do I put that pricing on the website?
The quickest, easiest, shortest would be in the footer in a frequently asked question drop down. And one of those frequently asked questions is, how much does this cost? Ideally, you would have a pricing page. The statistic around this is if somebody goes to your website and they can't find pricing within 10 seconds, they will leave. 10 seconds. So having the pricing button at the top would be amazing. Having a get instant estimate now would be even better. Call for a quote does the opposite. And you think about this when you're shopping or you're looking something up. The most annoying one for me is like looking for cars. And most car dealerships will have prices, but then like you see the car you really like, the truck you really like, it'll be like call for price. And you're like, no, I'll find it somewhere else. I think equipment is even worse on this. Like you go to some equipment dealer's website, and in my experience at least, it's pretty hard to find the price. And this is actually a great example. I'm glad I just randomly thought of that. That now on Google, if you Google what does a Cat 275 XE cost, Google's just going to tell you the answer right there at the top. But Google doesn't just know, it's pulling it from a website. So why would you not want Google to pull the answer of what it costs from your website? And so if you're feeding it the right information, but think about the opposite. Some new guy comes in who is not running the caliber of business that you are and doesn't understand profit margin, and he's charging way too little, but he understands this concept of AI and marketing. And now he's got information, and Google sees him as the trusted authority. And Google's saying land clearing costs $500 a day, $500 an acre because of the information that he found, right? So the point being, things are shifting from you search and here's a list of websites to go look at to now you search, it wants to give you an answer and a next step. Like, hey, yeah, land clearing costs between $2,000 and $5,000 an acre. Would you like to get an estimate? And they put a blue button right there. That's what started this week. They'll put a button that's like, get online estimate now. Well, obviously, Google's not giving people land clearing estimates. That is linking to information on someone's website. Now, this is taking storm on roofing, HVAC, plumbing, all of the huge home service, home improvement niches. Land clearing, we have a little bit more of an opportunity to pioneer this ourselves. But either which way, Google, we've all seen it at the top. It pops out an answer for you before it starts giving you the links. Well, if you're giving it the right information, ideally your information goes right there. And same thing with AI, because AI is just giving them an answer. And I don't know how many folks are watching, but this is a fun question because so many people get it wrong. But what do you think the number one trust signal for AI to recommend you above everyone else? And this includes Google. When I say AI, this includes Google's AI. What do you think is the number one trust signal?
So that's a question for people who are tuning in live, right? And if you're listening to this podcast right now on Spotify or Apple after I've already published it later on in 2026 in the queue, tune in to Jacob and I's live stream so that you can ask live questions, right? So Jacob's going to ask these types of questions. And if you're a land clearing guy or if you're another blue collar operator, the concepts that we talk about are going to apply to blue collar entrepreneurs. So let's pose that question again here, Jacob.
Yes, sir. So, what do you think is the number one trust signal for AI and Google to recommend your company versus any other option?
So I will take a stab at this here. It's either going to be what we're talking about exactly, whether or not you show pricing, or it's going to be a combination of that plus how much helpful content do you have on your website already written for the person who is searching for that service.
100%. Yeah, so it's pricing by a mile. And then the next one's reviews. But what you said is technically correct, but it's just about the pricing, right? So you need to have that helpful content. And if you look in most markets, when you look up like keyword searches related to land clearing, forestry, mulching, whatever, or roofing, HVAC, any of them, the number one search is how much does this cost? Cost to clear land, cost to replace my roof, cost of a new roof, cost of roof repair, cost of land clearing, cost to clear my land. It's always the number one. Yeah, so cost is or pricing information is the number one trust signal for AI to recommend you. Now, obviously, reviews are huge, and historically, reviews have been the number one. And now it's shifting because buyer behavior has shifted because people want to get that information. If they can't find pricing, they don't trust you. That's the key. If they cannot find pricing, they don't trust you. And everybody wants to be trusted. If you're a legit business, you want to be trusted. Not saying to stop getting reviews and putting out helpful, valuable educational content. That is still as important as it's ever been. But pricing is number one.
Now, before we jump into more tactics on how
Yep.
someone can go add this to their website and the format that they need to follow to do this in order to start grabbing up some of that search volume in their local area. I'm sure there are going to be plenty of people who are listening to this right now who are pushing back at an insane rate right now. That's the
Yep.
stupidest thing you could ever do.
Yep.
Why would you share your pricing? And what would be your response to that?
A couple things came to mind, but do you do you like money?
That's a good
It is
response.
it is statistically proven that you will lose people because you don't have this. And I'll come full circle with this, but if it's you worried about your competitors, Austin, do you know how much your competitors charge roughly?
I do, yeah.
And they know how much you charge roughly. And they don't pay your bills. So don't put an ounce of effort into worrying whether or not they see your pricing. They already know it anyways to a degree. And that's what you're giving when you're not telling people, "Oh, I charge 250 an hour. Oh, I charge 3 grand a day." That's not what I'm saying when you're putting pricing on your website. You're putting you're putting a range. But even then, it's not just like a line bullet on your website that says, "We charge between 2 and $5,000 an acre." It's an opportunity for you to explain what drives price to go up, what drives price to go down. Factors like density, terrain, slope, haul off or burn, or are we mulching? What's the distance? How much is it at once? All of these things can drive the price up or down. What makes a company cheaper than another one? There are going to be guys cheaper than you. They potentially have smaller, less efficient equipment. So they may be cheaper by the day or by the hour, and that's what they're telling people. And so they seem cheaper, but it's going to take them twice as long to do the job. So you may actually be a better value. That's another thing you can explain, but you're going to retain them on the website past that 10 seconds if you can fulfill that need of pricing. But then you have the chance to educate them. That other company who's cheaper than you might not have insurance or workers' comp or employees that are happy. This is a huge one I've been preaching recently. Would you rather have someone at your house with employees that are happy to be there and satisfied with their pay and their structure? Or would you rather have a company that's like they hired the cheapest guy they could find to run this machine that could potentially destroy your house and property? You're gonna want the better guy. On in the other niches, I mean, some of these people, they're replacing your roof, they're coming into your house, they're messing with electricity, they could potentially burn your home down, right? You want people with good benefits, with good pay, good employees. And so that's another differentiation you can make on a pricing page like that of what causes cost to maybe be more or less. And you could even position that again, maybe somebody will be more than me because they have that less efficient machine or they're less experienced and they can't come in and do the same level of work in the same amount of time that we can. Some guys can roll up to a job with 3 dedicated forestry mulching machines and clear 10 acres in a day with a very nice product. They're going to be able to technically charge less for that 10 acres than a guy with a skid steer and a mulching head with just one machine because he's not going to be as efficient. It's going to take way longer, and there's no way he's going to be able to charge you less than them. So that's the opportunity you have on that page.
Why do you think, and I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, why do you think it's always been a hush hush mentality?
I mean, I know that's the way I grew up. I know that's the way my dad grew up. I know that's the way my grandpa grew up. I don't know the exact psychology behind why it was that way, but it's definitely an old school mindset. And when I say old school, I mean like 50 plus years probably. Um, I don't know, honestly. I know, for a long time, even the beginning of my business career, we did not want to give pricing until we could get in front of the person and talk to them about it then because then you had the opportunity to make the sale. It was harder for them to say no. You had more, face to face, eye to eye connection. But I don't think it changed because of that change. I think it changed because of the internet. Like technology changed buyer behavior. You have more information at your fingertips, so you want more information at your fingertips. And the thing is, if there's two companies side by side online and one they can find pricing on and one they can't, they're going to trust the other one more. That's just obvious. And so I think technology and computers is like the short answer of why that happened.
It's 100% the answer. We're living in the age of information. We have access to anything we need information wise at our fingertips. For example, flew down to Austin last week to do some work with a guy you know as well, another land clearing business, film some ads, you know, met with the crew, did all that good stuff. But I didn't get a rental car. I landed and I looked for an Uber. But what did I also do? I checked the price on Lyft. I immediately checked the price on both options before I bought. And every single place I went, I did that. So the point of this conversation is that not sharing pricing was the old school way of doing things. There is a new way of doing things, and that new way is going to take over whether you adopt it or not as an operator. And so you get one of two options here. You get to pigeonhole yourself into the old way of doing things and try to keep living that way. Or as an entrepreneur, you get to have the opportunity to adapt and change your ways of doing things. And whether you choose to do that or not, it's unfortunate, but the market doesn't care whether you choose or not. So the point I'm trying to make here is that my hope is that you guys who are listening to this, you're hearing it very, very early. If you're a land clearing guy, or if you're an excavation guy, or if you're landscaping, hardscaping, there are other industries out here, like the pool industry, like HVAC, like plumbing, who have adopted this and they're moving very fast with this. In our industry, we get to have an opportunity to choose if you're going to move fast or if you're not. But whether you do or whether you don't, Google and AI aren't slowing down the wait for you.
Yes. So I love the way you position that. And then I just want to position it a little bit like some icing on top, some encouragement, because this is where it gets exciting for me. Because historically, the land clearing world, blue collar in general, but definitely land clearing, from what I can see, is always like a little behind. It's always a little more old school. Like we have clients right now that don't own computers, right? So they're a little behind. Now, of course, they got cell phones, so they technically, I mean, they got a computer in their hand. But some of them are like, I wouldn't have it if I didn't have to. I love that statement, right? So what's going to happen in 18 to 36 months is you're going to have to do this to play. Like if you're gonna level with the competition, you're going to have to do this. So you and 10 other guys are going to be doing this. And if you do it better, you may scoop up 10%, right? Maybe 20%. But if you do it right now in a world where all these land clearing guys are going to be resistive to it, you could potentially scoop up 90%. If there's 1,000 people searching and there's 10 guys in your area, and it's very common, by the way, for 1,000 people a month to be searching for land clearing in a service area. Very common. So if there's 1,000 people searching a month, and we know, we know that if they can't find pricing on a site, they're going to leave in 10 seconds and go to the next thing where they can find the answer, or they're just going to get fed the answer by Google and the AI because it's on the website. If you're the only one in your area doing that, you could potentially scoop up 900 to 1,000 of those people every month versus you would have gotten 10%, or in the future, you may only get 10% once everyone starts doing this and the playing field is level. Right now, the playing field is not level. So many land clearing guys are not doing this, but Google and AI have already started doing it. So you have this potential to scoop up an insanely unfair market share by making this change in the land clearing world, which is why it's so exciting for me and why I'm talking about it so much that I'm sure people are going to start getting sick of it. But it's going to make you so much money, and it's easy.
And look, this is what I love about these conversations. Like, you genuinely care about your clients. So for those of you who are listening to this and don't know, Jacob manages media buying, aka ads, for land clearing companies across the U.S. And the last time we talked about his number, he's definitely over 100, I think over 120 companies. And so he gets to do this at a high level, but his commitment to this industry is to make the industry better. And so what he's doing right now, and he's already sharing with his clients and sharing on this podcast for us, is an opportunity that you can take advantage of and be a first mover in your market on. Now, if you're not a first mover, and if you're listening to this later in Q1 of 2026, when we publish this on the podcast later, you can still move on this. The other benefit that's going to happen here, what's the number one complaint that you hear most guys talking about in each market?
Oh,
'Cause
I'm glad you brought this up.
okay,
It's usually like tire kickers, or people don't understand how much this thing costs.
definitely. They don't understand how much this thing costs. So this is, you're thinking about it from a lead perspective, right? I was thinking about it more so from like, man, I'm so sick of these, chucking a truck guys coming on Facebook Marketplace and advertising for $800 a day.
Yep.
Right. So there's two things, and there's two frames that you and I are each approaching it on. Go ahead on your side, because I think we can both attack it from this angle. And it's the
Yeah.
benefit, and the solution here is going to increase the benefit for the guys who adopt this one way or the
Yeah.
other.
No, I'm excited to hear what you're going to say, because that's going to be good. I like where your head's going. Where I'm thinking is this: it solves two problems. It helps your leads. You're going to get more leads. You're going to get more conversions. You're going to get more market share. But it's also going to solve a little bit of that qualification problem. Because if somebody thinks they're going to get $10,000 of land clearing for $500, then they're going to fill out this form, or see your pricing page, or see your article, and they're going to see how much it costs and why, and realize they cannot afford it. And then you don't have to spend your time talking to them on the phone. And then the flip side, the people who are your buyers who can afford it, they're going to be more educated before they ever talk to you. So your sales process gets easier because you took the responsibility to educate them on the front end. So it's a win-win there in terms of qualification. But I'd love to hear what you were about to say about the marketplace guys. So that sounds exciting.
Well, I'll echo what you just said. You're qualifying your customers up front. Before I jump into that, what's the average price you see people charging just for like one skid steer and a mulcher across the US? Just like a range
Yeah,
per day.
I've heard as low as 1,500. In
That's
some
too
like
low, by the way.
Yeah, way up to about 3,500 for skid steer.
Yeah. So 1500, if you're still a guy charging 1500, here's what I'm going to say. Raise your prices because you're not making money at that. I operate a business and I study our P&L every single Monday, and I know our pricing and I know what we need to be charging. And $1,500 a day per machine, unless, like, the only way you can squeak by is if you are literally a solo owner operator and you go operate that machine and you do all your sales, you do all your invoicing, you do all your estimating, you have no back office staff. But if you actually want to grow, there is no way you grow the business at that price. Absolutely no way. Like, your margins are absolutely crushed. So for the guys who want to grow the business, who are going to be the guys who actually take action on this, you guys know too that that's way too low. So what this is going to do is the people who take action on this are going to train the market on a better price that makes sense for all of us to stay in business. Okay,
Yeah.
because here's the thing. Market's always correct. If you're out there just raking in crazy, crazy profit margins, the market will correct itself. That only lasts for a short amount of time. What's going to happen over time is the more people who adopt this, as long as we all know our numbers and as long as we talk about this as operators and understand our gross profit margins and our net profit margins and what overhead we need to run, it's going to level sort of the base price to get in at this industry. So therefore, we're training our customers that it's going to cost X amount. Like, my guess is it's going to stabilize minimum of like 2,500 a day, sort of in everybody's mind. And then it's going to go up from there if you want more quality or if you want a better rated company.
Yep.
Because that's the bare minimum, that the bare minimum. Like, I really do believe that in order to actually make money at this business, that per machine, whether you charge a day rate or a per project rate, that per machine price, if you're operating with back office staff, a salesperson, commission, um, overhead, insurance, once you take into all that, like, we really need to be pushing that closer to 3 per
Yep.
machine. And that's just to stay in business, right?
Mm.
Because the people you hire, if you want to run a great business, they're going to expect a great salary. And in order to retain great people, you got to pay great wages, which means better than average. So my whole point with this is, if we can all adopt this as land clearing, if some of the fire mitigation or tree guys are operating, this same thing applies in the Western United States. If everybody can get on board with the same numbers that it takes to actually run like 20 to 30% net margins, which should be the goal if you're taking all this risk of running a small business, then the customers are going to be trained at what price point it takes to hire a professional to get this stuff done. So it's going to be a win for everybody involved if you jump on board with this.
Yep. And why would you not, if you want to be the authority of the best company in your area, and if you don't, I don't know why you're even in business, but why would you not educate to where your competitors can be educated too? Like, if they're charging too little and you're the authority and you can come in and tell them why it makes sense for them to be charging at least this much, you're just going to make the whole market better. Versus if you just complain about him and talk crud about him online because he's charging too little, versus if you could physically call him and, educate him, or if you're seen as the authority online in your space, or people just know, like, yeah, Bear Claw, I mean, they're the ones, dude, and then they can find your pricing and an explanation of it on your website, then they're going to be like, oh, okay, he's doing way better than me. He's doing way more jobs than me. He gets way more market share than me, and he's charging this. Huh. Maybe, maybe I should be, maybe I should be doing that. But also, I really love what you said about the company, the wages, the people, because your ideal client, like the clients you should be aiming for, that's what they want. They don't want the cheapest guys showing up with the cheapest equipment and the cheapest employees. And I actually had a very interesting sales call yesterday that was very much like this. High level dudes looking to hire us. Um, they did 500 grand this year. They want to do a couple million next year. And I gave them our pricing, and they were like, "Well, what's it after that?" And I said, "Well, after that, we've got basically 2 options. You can go to paying for 6 months in full for a discount or 12 months in full for a discount." And it was almost a red flag for him. He was like, "Oh, whoa, 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 like, if you give me a discount, do you have enough margin left in your business to be able to give me the attention I still want?" Because he's had that in the past where they basically send you into a continuity plan, and then you start getting less attention, and they're like, "Well, you're not really paying us enough to give you the attention that, you were before." And so he was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, like, I don't wanna pay you less and then start getting less." And so that's an ideal buyer is going to think that way. They would rather pay for the right, the good, the best than to worry about getting subpar results.
It's so true. And we're talking like for round numbers sake, the numbers that I pushed that to is like $3,000 bare minimum to show up. We're talking $3,000. If a customer bounces and goes to another website because you're displaying that as a minimum level of price that it takes to work with you, then they're not going to be an easy customer to work with. I hesitate from saying a great customer because like there are great people out there who simply don't have enough funds, and like that's not what I'm trying to say here. My point
Yeah.
with it is they're gonna be a more challenging customer for you to work with as an operator
Yep.
because if they can't if they can't pay you that 3K minimum, then they're gonna be watching every single move you make. They're gonna be asking you a million different questions, and they're gonna be asking you for a discount every single step of the way. And that $3,000 operating rate per day means that you're buttoned up, you're efficient. If you're having to stop and answer 32 different questions, that's going to drive down efficiency, which then drives down margin, right? And so I think what we're both trying to get here to is displaying pricing is going to increase the qualified amount of buyers that you have who are actually reaching out to you through your funnel. And what I mean by that, to clarify for guys who are like, what the heck's a funnel? Funnel is like top of funnel. We're attracting them. There's a second step of the funnel, which is getting on the phone with them or making a contact with them, right?
Oh yeah. I This is sort of like a sidebar from our main topic, but I hear it a lot. Like I tried to recently convince somebody to raise their price from 14.50 a day, which I could not believe I was having to convince them of this. But they worry that, oh, charging $3,000 a day, like, oh man, I'm highway robbery. I'm robbing people blind. And it's like, no. So let me paint it from two different sides, one from your side and one from the customer side. This isn't saying like just charge double and oh well, which you can do that, but charge more and provide more value. If you're charging more, you're not going to be focused on just getting out, getting in, getting out, getting paid, see you later. Like you're going to give yourself the wiggle room to leave a fine finished product, to do a nice, easy walkthrough with the person, to provide. If you're charging nicely, you're going to feel better about providing a good full quote that takes you a little bit of time to put together. You got to walk with them, taking good pictures and videos and maintaining your machine while you're there, blowing it out so you don't catch it on fire because you were in a rush going from one thing to the next because you're charging too little. Um, on that side, it's like raise your price so that you can be so valuable to the client that it's probably worth more than that. But then on the flip side of that, for you, yes, Doug, you get what you pay for. On the flip side of that, for you, you mentioned earlier, like, oh, you could probably get away with it, owner operator, you're doing everything. Well, if you're doing everything and you're charging $1,500, there's a darn good chance you will stay busy. But that's all you will stay. You will not make any money. You will stay busy. So would you rather charge 1,500 a day, stay busy, not have any room to grow, work on your business, or hang out with your family? Or let's say you charge $3,000 and now you lose half the jobs you would have gotten. But now in those that time where you have half the jobs, you can spend growing your business, doing sales, doing estimates, working on your machine, and you made the same amount of money hanging out with your family, whatever. Like it's a win-win for you and the customer. You have more time freedom and breathing room to provide a better product to them, and you have more time breathing room to grow your business to that next level. And I will like be the first to fall on that sword and say I have been on both sides of that.
Me too.
I have dropped price to get clients, and it's a lose-lose for you and for them, and it sucks.
That's the truth. And I was going to ask you the next question. I'm glad you went there. What are some examples that you've done in your business? Because I do believe that you have taken some of these principles and actually put them into action here in your business. And guys, just for those of you who know, Jacob's not just a tech guy. Like he's not just a computer guy. He's very good at what he does. Um, but he got his start in the field, owning and operating a blue collar business. You want to share anything about that and like some lessons that you've learned about um, being that guy who stays busy versus the one who is picking a price that you know makes sense for you to be profitable and pay good people on your team to operate a good business?
Absolutely. Yeah, I've made this mistake 3 times in legitimate business if you wanted to get serious about it, and then if you count, like, very young adulthood and high school, I mean, I would mow lawns for 35 bucks. I would go pick up someone's couch and take it to the dump for 50 bucks, which I mean, that's kind of a different scenario. But in terms of my legit businesses, yeah, I mean, like my first business was a pressure washing business, um, which I grew and had some pains, did things wrong, but came full circle and was able to run that business successfully without me for a few years. And then I ended up selling it, which it still runs today. Um, But I was charging $150 a job when I first started, and, like, it didn't take too long for me to do the math and realize, like, I'm not making any money when I'm doing this, and I'm talking it didn't take me long to figure that out, but it took me, like, a year to stop doing it. Because I knew if somebody called and I told them, "Hey, it's 300 bucks," and they go, "Ooh." And then I'm like, "Okay, I'll do it for 150." And they're like, "Yeah, buddy, come on over." And then they stand out there and watch you, and then they want you to add on this and add on this and add on that. And then they tell their buddy that you did it for 150 and you were there for 4 hours. And it's just it's a lose-lose. I didn't have any money to buy better equipment. I was very, very busy. I was on the roof. I can't tell you how many times I've been on the roof on a phone call trying to sell the next job because we could never afford it. And then when I sat there looking at getting employees, I'm like, how on earth could I afford employees? Well, you have to charge more. You have to charge more. But because you charge more, you can provide a better value. You have time to give them information, to give them estimates, to you have the margin for when somebody makes a mistake to come back and fix it. Um, and then full circle on that, if you want to be a charity business and like help people out for free, if your business is doing well enough making decent money, you can actually afford to go do that stuff for free instead of just discounting yourself down to nothing. If you want to help somebody out in need, you just do it for free. You don't you don't drop your price and drop your value. It's doing something for charity and discounting are two different things. So I learned a lot of hard lessons there. Um, Also ran a RV rental business, which doesn't sound too blue collar right out the gate. But when you think about delivering RVs to wherever the heck people want them all the time, and people who've never used one before, and water leaks in the field, and generators and ACs going out, and basically maintaining RVs in the field is like every every bit of mechanicking that you could need to do. Um, but we were definitely the cheapest when we first started doing that as well. Which another thing that's just like an outlying lesson in this is like don't run multiple businesses. You see hyper successful people run multiple businesses after their first one was very successful. But otherwise, the people running like 8 businesses is just because they have shiny object syndrome, and I've been there, done that, and it just doesn't work out. But anyways, we quickly realized in that one that we had to raise prices because of the value we were providing. We were providing amazing service, full turnkey setup. They've got every fork, plate, spoon, bowl, salt, pepper, ketchup, table set up, ground mats set up when they got there, the AC's running. We spend hours flushing out the tanks so that the thing smells good. And they were charging like 75 bucks a night and 100 bucks to deliver it. And I was like, this is not working out. Well, come full circle to the end of the business. It's running today, but we could afford to have a full-time delivery guy. And so that was like a huge up. We have full-time people cleaning the camper, full-time um, people flipping the camper. And then we have enough money to pour gravel and have cameras so that when we're renting out other people's campers, it is protected, right? So I learned that whole hard lesson full circle there. And then in Rise, same thing, right? Even just a couple of years ago, I tried to think I was doing a good thing by offering a cheap plan for guys who really weren't ready to hire us as an agency yet. And it was a huge lose-lose for us and them. I tried to charge 600 bucks for our services and let them do 600 bucks in ad spend. So 1,200 bucks total. And I would say we lost 80% of those clients, just to be very transparent. Now, overall, over the course of Rise existing, we have a 97% retention rate. I'm super proud of that. But there was this 1 month where I offered this one offer and we got a bunch of those clients and then we lost a bunch of those clients. But at $600, I just couldn't provide enough value for them to get what they needed. But they wanted the same level of service that we're providing people who pay us $4,000 a month. And that just doesn't make sense, right? So once I positioned to only start working for guys who could afford us, then our business is better and their business is better because somebody at that level, they're going to get more value out of what we do and we're going to be able to do more for them. They make more money, we make more money. It's just a win-win. That was a very long answer. Apologies.
It's great, and I'm glad that you covered all of those topics because once again, what I like painting the picture of is you've put pricing structures in place in your business for running the ads that reflect what you are advising your clients to do directly in their business as well. And specifically, it's because we're all kind of studying the same frameworks here, right? But the reality is the guy who's pushing the same frameworks, the $100 million frameworks, are the ones that are working right now in business, and there are sound principles tied to that. Something I read recently, I don't remember which book it was. I've been reading back through leads, offers, and money models. This morning I was reading leads. The thing that caught my eye in reading this week was brainstorm every possible thing that you could provide to your client to provide a 5-star level service, or that's what I refer to it as, 5-star level service. And I think the frame that it was posed as was, what if you had no paid ads? What if you had no social media? What if you could only grow your business based off of referral? What level of service and what all would you include in that service to your clients? And then the next frame was, what if you 10x'd the price on that? If your ideal customer, just for the sake of it, right? If it's purely an exercise, and people are going to think I'm crazy when I say this. So we were talking in the framework of $2,500 to $3,000 per day, right? What if somebody paid you 25 grand today for 1 day worth of work? What all would you include in that? And the brainstorming session that comes out of that makes you think about everything that your ideal customer could potentially want and everything of value that you could offer to them.
Yeah.
And that brainstorming session, at least for me, has brought out some new ideas on this is actually a service that we could provide that I wasn't thinking about before, that it actually wouldn't cost us too much time internally because we already have the skill set to do.
Yep. That's huge. And you say it like it's crazy, but that actually is a good way for 2 reasons. If you have a 10x price on your menu, it price anchors. So it's like, "Hey, we go all the way up to $25,000 a day." Now, I don't think you need that, but I'm just letting you know, like, there's the range. And then when they hear 2,500, they're like, "Oh, whew." But then there will also be whales who will take you up on that. That's why it's always good to have it on your menu. And he just did, Alex Ramosi just did a live webinar last week on lifetime value, increasing lifetime value for your clients. And he did the exercise that you just mentioned. He was like, what's your core offer? Add a zero to it. What would you do for that person? Right. And so that's what you just said. It's like, 2,500, what could you do for 25,000? If you wanted to make like a real example of that, like for 25 grand for a day or an acre, you're probably going to bring out 5+ machines. You're going to have everybody there. You're going to be there. The job is going to run smoothly because you're going to be there making it all happen. And you're going to plan way ahead of time for this mobilization, for this haul out to have everything done, right? You're going to give the customer probably way better than a $25,000 value in a day for that, which they're going to benefit from and you're going to benefit massively from. And it's like that gets your mind thinking, oh, well, when I charge more, I can literally give more value in a shorter amount of time with less risk. And that's what it is. It's value, time, and risk, value, speed, and risk. If you can give more value in less time with less risk, you can charge whatever you want. That's the game. And when you get into that level of the game, you are making more money and your clients are happier. And it's okay. There will always be the Facebook marketplace guy for $800 that will go and do the other jobs that people don't want to pay your price for. That's okay. Totally okay. Let them do it.
So, Doug is chiming in here. Do you guys have examples of businesses who are getting the published pricing model right? So, I have one example that I'll share from a YouTube video that I watched from a concrete guy who paid Hormozy for coaching, and I'll share that here in the chat. Editors, if so for the published podcast, let's put this in the link in the description here. But I pulled up the Alex Hormozy showed me how to 3x my concrete sales. Here's how I did. I'll share my tab here. I'm going to put this one in. I watched this one. This one was good. And I can't remember if it was that one or if it was this one. I paid Alex Hormozy $24K to grow my concrete business. What he talks about, this guy, Tyler, who owns, I believe it's like a $4 million concrete business a year, but he also runs marketing for other concrete businesses, kind of like you do.
Mhm.
The main premise of the conversation there, or the video, was that we needed to have 3 tiers of pricing. We need to have, I want to make
Oh,
sure I
like
frame
good,
this
better,
right.
best?
Yeah, and if you want to jump in here, feel free to, but I'll do my best here. So based on what you talked about, like have your highest price point, because there will be a very small portion of people who take you up on that. For example, like I've been helping some other blue collar guys in our school group grow their business. Like we've got an offer out there right now where it's like, we'll help you set up your Google business profile, optimize it, get your first Facebook ad launch, and then implement the system that we have. And that's like 4,500 bucks up front to join, plus a monthly fee to stay part of the weekly group. But then I had a guy approach me and he was like, hey man, I don't really have the time to do this. Like, what would it take if you were to just actually do all this for me? And I'm like, well, I'll just throw a price out there, right? So it's like, here's the price that makes sense. So it's like a 6-figure price tag. If he takes it, great. If he doesn't, I'm just going to keep doing my thing, right? And so my point is that you should always have that top tier level of pricing, because there is a price that would allow you the time and the space and the freedom to deliver everything that you possibly could for that
Yep.
top tier client, right? But then the majority of people are going to be like, oh God, thank God that that's not $120,000. Like, sure, I'll pay you the 4,500 bucks right here, as long as you can just give me the videos and the training to do it, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
And then you should have, at least this is what I took away from that. Like, you should have a low tier price that is not too far off of that one, so that the
Correct.
middle tier makes more sense. And so I'll tell you guys very clearly, because I'm sure there are blue collar operators who are like, what the heck is this guy talking about? Um, in our land clearing business for fire mitigation, I will show you the pricing tiers that I came up with. And Jacob, why don't you just critique me on air, break this down,
Yeah.
and let's do this. Let me share my screen.
Where we learned about that buyer behavior that you're talking about of the middle, whatever you want to sell more of, you make that middle one closer. So that we got that from movie theater drinks. If you pay attention when you go to the movie theater or any place like the movie theater, you just move that middle one to which one you want to sell more of. So like in this case, you're closer to the 3,000. If you were to move the middle one, the 4,500 to the like 7,500, it'd be like, okay, it makes the one it's closer to seem like more value, basically.
So in this scenario, so what you're saying is if I move 4,500 to 7,500, then the 9,000 feels like
Sell
more value.
more 9,000s.
But in this scenario, the psychology that I'm using here is that same thing with the $3,000 base price, 4,500 middle, and then, hey, if you want us to go over your property like 18 times, like if you're a land clearing guy, you know that you have that price where you're like, hey, I quoted this price, this job, but the customer just expects this, the mulch to be this big, right? And you got to go over it. I mean, how many times have you guys had that? Well, I wanted to offer a rate where it's like, well, this would make sense for us to like keep our guys and all of our equipment like going back over it if you really want that park, right? So I just doubled our middle tier pricing. But once again, this is me taking the video and the concepts that I learned about pricing there and applying it to my business. And we're having an open conversation on the pod here. So Jacob, break it down. How
Yeah.
would you change this?
No, this is wonderful. And what it does, it positions you to sell more of that 4,500 because it's not that much more. Like the purchasing decision between 3,000 and 4,500, it's not that different. So it's not that much more than the low tier, but your low tier is priced high enough that if you sell it, you're still going to make good money. But 4,500 looks good, especially when 9 grand is sitting next to it. So it's half the cost of the high tier. So it's really price anchoring it down, which is nice. And then having the 2.0 of that is having the 9K offer, you're going to have these 10% of people who just want to pay more for a better product because that's just how they are. If they have the money, they're going to look for the highest price thing. Why not make it double? Right. And then, like you said, you can probably provide double, if not more, value with that 9 grand, because it's probably actually triple from the 3K over to the 9 grand. But to them, it just kind of seems like double. So this is beautiful for sure.
So in your sales process, when they're saying, so what's the price? The immediate piece is like, well, so our best package right here is 9K per acre. And notice how I shut up right there,
Mhm.
because this
'Cause you
is the
wanna see how
most
they react.
important thing in price dropping.
Yep.
Drop the price and shut up.
'Cause somebody might whip out their credit card right there.
And you never know when somebody's gonna say, okay, just like all of us have had those clients where they're like, yeah, just do it. When can you guys start? It's like, sweet. I don't even need to present the other two options. So we would just book them on the schedule, collect the deposit, give him the quote, and book him on the schedule.
Exactly.
Because he's telling me that he's not price sensitive at all and he wants the top level of service. Now, I'll make sure to clearly outline what he's going to get in that. But I'm not going to give him any more barriers or decisions to make in that scenario.
Exactly. And the thing is, and anybody who's been doing this any sort of time knows this is true. You offer a price less than you should have or less than you wanted to, or you offer it with a discount and they just say yes right away and you think, man, I could have said double that and they would have said yes. Just do it. Just do it. Just believe in yourself, give yourself the permission. If you need somebody to give you permission, I'm giving you permission right now. Just charge more, charge what you should, have a higher tier price, and then shut up, like Austin said. Now, if they give kickback, guess what? You have two other prices that are still priced well that are just a lower value, and you just explain that. You don't tell them you're discounting it. You're saying, "Hey, yeah, absolutely. I do have a lower tier package that will probably still get you the result you're looking for with just minus this, this, and this." And then they hear 4,500, half the price. Yeah, they're in.
They're in. And I'll tell you, this is the rate that we need to be like, this is what we need to be pushing at, right? This is the pricing that we've developed internally, that we can mobilize a crew and we know our numbers down to the T and our operating costs and our labor, and we can go be efficient at that rate, right? I don't want to do this. Why? Because it breaks up our ideal scenario. And when you break up your ideal service or your scenario, you're creating more headaches and more efficiencies. What most guys don't understand is every decision that you make in your business on a daily basis, every amount of logistical headache or burden is costing you money in this invisible overhead cost, AKA time. It's either your time as the owner or one of your best employees' time. And that time is limited every single day. So if you're saying, hey, our bread and butter is $4,500 an acre, and we need to mobilize these pieces of equipment and these two people, but then another customer takes you up on this price, you now have a level of coordination that you have to go split up your main crew. You have to go schedule, you have to think through, you have to handle different logistics, different mobilization. So this actually does cost you more in headache and overhead time. You just,
Yep.
most people don't realize it. And so that's why we want to incentivize people to pick the plan that we want to sell and we know is our bread and butter and can operate day in, day out on. And then, of course, to wrap this all up, we have a double the price option that, quite honestly, if you get that customer who really wants the beautiful finish, if they're going to complain about a finish like this and if they're going to want quarter inch minus on your mulch, like it costs that much more. It costs more in headache, it costs more in machine time. You know as well as I do, if you're in land clearing, if you have to go over something twice, it's way different than if you have to go over something 6 times to get that final level of finish that some customers do want. And so this also allows you to have a delineation between like, hey, what's your goals here? Are you simply looking to reduce wildfire risk? And like, don't get me wrong, we leave a beautiful finish on this.
Yep.
But if you literally want like a park with manicured, like this guy you see in this picture right here. Some
Yep.
guys are probably looking at this picture and they're like, well, you didn't get those bushes around that tree. That's because that guy wanted to keep that bush and that bush. And he wanted to keep that and that. And he wanted us to mulch and spread it evenly in here. You know how much extra time that takes than just blowing through it and doing a forest cleanup like this one?
Yeah.
Incredible amount more of time. Therefore, you need to be able to charge for it because it's still worth doing. Oh, excuse
Yeah.
me. What I should say is there is a price that it is still worth doing at. You just have to come up with that.
Well, and would you rather put a little time and effort into put this information on your website and talk about it upfront? Or would you rather have the argument with the customer after you've just worked for 8 hours for $3,000 and they're like, it's not how I want it to be? And now you have to decide, are you just going to do it and eat the cost, or are you going to try to charge them more and then they're not going to be happy about it because that's not what you talked about before? It's like, and they may be willing to spend $9,000, but it's just the expectation to the outcome. The expectation was not there in the beginning, and now it's coming up. And so their expectation and the reality did not meet. Versus if you do it all ahead of time, you just miss all of that. But yes, Doug, always always pricing, always. And don't lie. That a lot of people are like, I don't want to lie or sound dishonest. Like, don't put a $9,000 offer on your site. Put it somewhere. Have it for real. Then you can in good conscience price anchor with it, and somebody will buy it. This happened to me. I put a $25,000 offer on our plans, and someone bought it, and they're very happy. But most of the time, it's just a price anchor.
You know what else is crazy is when people take you up on that high offer, and I know you see it this way too. Like I want to go so far above and beyond for that client because I'm like,
Mhm.
thank you for trusting me to do what I say I will do. And if you trust me with your dollars, I'm going to make sure that you get more value out of that.
Yep.
And those are the people who end up becoming not just great clients, but friends and people you can pick up the phone. And they're likely really good at business too, because they
Yes.
understand value and investment rather than cost and expense.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%.
So
No.
with that, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to loop back to something interesting you said earlier. You talked about the marketplace guy charging $800 and people complaining about him. And I just think that's kind of funny with the topic we're talking about today, because why do you think that guy is getting so many people calling him? Because his price is readily available on the internet. It's so obvious. Yeah, of course he gets more calls than you. He has his pricing right there at like so accessible because we're all scrolling marketplace every day. They're just scrolling. They see $800 in the mulching machine. Oh, okay. Anyways, interesting point.
And for example, like just to wrap up that high tiered pricing, like let's say that okay, I'm a land clearing operator. You're a, you're an ad agency. I come to you and I'm like, hey Jacob, we had a good year here. I know I'm going to have this expense next year. I would like to just pay for next year upfront in full. What can I pay you for to get top tier level service and access to, hey, Jacob, like you're the reason I'm buying this, right? Like I see the fact that you have built a great business and you understand this at a high level. I want access to you, right? How do you think about positioning that price for someone like that versus just telling me like, hey, it's going to be, 3K a month. Just pay me the 3K right now.
Yeah. I mean, I have done this. Like currently right now, because our current offer, full transparency, core offer 16 grand per 4 months. So that comes out to 4K a month, right? So for the year, that would be $48,000. I'm offering that right now for $36,000 if they wanted to pay for the year in full. So you're basically, if they're already going to have paid me next year for all these services, they're saving $12,000. But that price point is still good enough for me to have good margins, make good money, and be able to assign 5 to 7 people to that account to make sure that it does well, including me having one-on-one time with them. So that is a win-win for them and for me. They're already gonna spend the money on marketing. Now they get to spend a little bit less. I get the cash up front, which makes me feel good inside and makes me very committed to providing high level service for them as fast as possible because it's pulled up, right? And the thing that's so cool is when that happens, and this has really happened, is usually I give them so much value in that first like 30 to 60 days. They've made the return on that 36 or 20. Over the years, it's been different prices, right? I've raised my prices over the years. They get return on investment on that lump sum in those first 30 to 60 days. So then the rest of the year, it just feels good for them and for me. It's just a win-win because I was able to provide that value because I charged enough that it made sense.
And ultimately, it's the same thing in operating the local business. You put your pricing out there, you're transparent, you're open with it. The people who are going to waste your time in the site visit, aka your money, because if you're paying an in-house sales rep and they're driving an hour or maybe sometimes an hour and a half, 2 hours to a site visit, and they're just like $3,000, it's a complete waste of your time and resources, right? And so being able to qualify that person on the front end is going to weed out the people who would have told you no anyway at that price.
Right. Yeah.
But it's also going to give you the opportunity to say, all right, like I'm a land clearing operator looking at okay, yeah, I did spend 60K last year on marketing, right? Okay, you're saying 48K for the year, but if I pay you up front right now, 36K, you're now giving yourself an opportunity to attract that level of operator who can say like, yeah, okay, we had a good year. Here's the 36K up front, which not only does cash up front make Jacob feel good inside, it gives him an opportunity to go run a great business. And so
Yep.
that's where I think like this whole topic, a lot of us forget to talk about this, but like great customers allow great businesses to stay in business and keep providing a great level of service. Because now when he has cash up front, he's able to go hire great people, build, plan, and strategize for the year ahead, and allocate brain space to you because you said, "Hey, I'll happily give you my dollars in return for value," right? But if I'm coming to you and I'm like, "Hey, man, you think I can get a discount on that $1,500 on that $2,000, right? You think we do $1,000 for the first 3 months? I promise I'll get you." Like, don't be that guy, right? Because you're never going to get the value in return.
So I'm on a podcast talking about this right now. I made this mistake a month ago. So I'll give you some transparency in this mistake that I knew I shouldn't have done this and I did it anyways. There's a client that's been trying to work with us for 2 years. Finally, they're like, "Yes, let's do it." Our prices have gone up since they first started talking to us, but they asked if they could have the price the way it was when they first started talking to us. And I was like, "You know what, dude? Let's do it. I'm trying to do this for a long time." When I finished this, Doug, I just popped out something that you're gonna love. I don't know the best way to show it if I should share my screen or not, but I can show you, Doug, a pretty sweet option specifically for you. Um, but anyway, so I did this, and then when it came down, they were like, "We're ready to go, bro. It's 12 grand was the cost for 4 months." They were like, "Hey, we can't do it. Can we break it up? Just do it monthly." And I was like, again, against my gut feeling, I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." So they did make the very first initial payment. And then it came to the time to get their ads live, and they told me that they didn't have the money for the ad spend. So we've done all this work. We built all their foundation, their website, their CRM, their automations, everything, and they can't launch because they don't have that ad spend. And so what did I do? Strike number 3 of what I should not have done. I was like, I'll cover your ad spend for you. I know you're in a hard spot, whatever. And I said, you can just pay me back month 2. Fast forward, I paid for a month of their ad spend. They got jobs, they got leads, they did estimates, and lo and behold, they couldn't pay me. So now I lost a month and a half of my team's time, essentially like $3,000 or $4,000, and a bunch of heartache. It's like, don't do that. Just don't. I know I shouldn't have. I preached that people shouldn't do that, and I did it, and huge loss. So, anyways, transparency there. Um, I just used acquisition.com's AI to come up with a 3-tiered plan for Doug if we want to show it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. And so for those of you who do not know, acquisition.com is Alex Hormozzi's brand that he, I guess, coaches other entrepreneurs on this stuff. And then they had this offer when they did the $100 million book launch. And I think Jacob got some coaching, but part of that offer, they provided, what was it called? Like ACQ AI or something like that, where they've trained a model specifically on all of Hormozzi's teachings and coaching calls and one-on-one stuff over the years. Is that correct?
Yeah, so all of his books, all of his content's been fed to it, but also they've recorded every one-on-one or boardroom or workshop they've had with I think it's like 5,000 businesses now, ranging from 500,000 to $100 million business. It's seen all of the recordings and all of his answers and all of the boardroom recordings. So pretty neat. But it
Let's see it.
also references the books. So for Doug, good, better, best. The way they usually recommend is your good, your lowest one is like bare bones for you to make money, but the idea is really not to sell it. Again, like I talked about earlier, the middle one is what you're positioning for them to buy. And then a premium as an anchor that would
Did you
be
share your screen?
Did I not?
You did. I missed the notification to add it.
Oh, my bad, my bad.
It's my fault.
Let me know when you start seeing it.
I don't.
You want me to drop it to a doc and then just send it to you?
Yeah, do that if you don't mind.
Doing it now.
The suspense. What is it going to kick out? Doug, in the meantime, you have any thoughts? Hey, Doug, Colby in the pro group did this for snow plowing. So he'd be an interesting person to reach out to in regards to snow plowing.
Okay, I sent it to you.
But Doug, to be clear, you're asking for driveway grading, correct? He said, please. All right, let me get this pulled up. You want simple driveway? Oh, you want simple. 1 driveway, 3 choices. Here we go. Got my screen?
Yep.
All right, take it away.
Okay, so what it did there is its positioning, which we kind of mentioned this with Austin's offer, right? Like the middle one is your main offer. That's what you want to sell. The good is your bare minimum, and the best is kind of that price anchor, but also it has to be real for when somebody wants the whale comes along and wants it. It has to be a real thing. Um, and then as you scroll down, it gives legitimate driveway options, which I think, Doug, from what I scanned through, you're gonna like this.
Before we move on to that, do you have me still?
Yeah.
Am I off
Uh-huh.
mute? I'm off mute. Okay. Good 1x, better 1.6 to 1.8x. I haven't seen this, so this was interesting to me. Best 2.2 to 2.5x. So basically, this is saying like if we take my pricing model and use this as 3,000, then multiply that by 1.6, correct, or 1.8,
Yeah, you're right
and
there.
then we multiply the good off 2.2 to 2.5, or the better off 2.2 to 2.5. What do you think?
It would usually be the other one, but you doubled, which I like. It's the same concept. You
For
just
sure.
simplify.
For
Yeah.
sure. Cool.
So I mean, I know also you've done driveway work, so I mean, this makes a lot of sense to me. But tell me what you think. I
Yeah,
have
yeah,
a
yeah.
gravel,
I'll pick it
but it
apart if we need to, but I'm interested to see what it will do.
go ahead, go ahead.
No, no, no. You please go ahead. I'm saying like if
Oh,
what this kicked out does not make sense, like I'll chime in with my feedback or opinion on why I think it does or doesn't.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so basic driveway refresh, decoy budget option. This is your minimum. For in terms of repair, light grading, smooth out ruts, potholes, no major resloping, supply and spread standard gravel, single size, standard thickness. You're not bringing in all kinds of different things. One pass to compact, no weed barrier, no edging, no drainage work, 30-day workmanship touch up. So this is like a standard, satisfaction guarantee probably. Um, just make sure that, nothing falls apart. That this is a good risk reversal tool. Just need it usable. I don't care how long it lasts. Love that. That's who this is for. This is not going to be your ideal client profile, but you'll still, if as long as you price it right, you'll still make money. Now, better core offer. This is what you want to shoot everybody for. So this is the one you want most people choosing. Full driveway assessment, basic drainage check. What I love about this is you're probably going to do that for everyone anyways, but you're positioning it as a value add to your offer. Regrading for proper crown water runoff, higher spec level gravel, correct mix, less washout. Again, what I like about that is you're probably, if you care about offering, doing a very good job, you're probably going to do that anyways, but you're positioning it as a value add to this offer. Increased depth of this is actually going to be more value because you're going to have to bring in more material, right? Or do more time. Weed barrier fabric under new material, that's actually an ad. I don't know if that's something that you're actually doing, so that would be one of those variables. Basic edging, 12-month workmanship warranty against major ruts, washouts. That is a huge separation right there. So basically you're saying, like, for me, a great guarantee, in our pressure washing business, we did roof soft washing, and I offered a 5-year guarantee because I had cleaned roofs that 5 years later were still clean. So it's like a no-brainer guarantee. So as long as if you do good work, you can offer this 12-month workmanship warranty. Like, that's a no-brainer, but it looks like massive value to the client. Clear limits would be like, you can't drive a freaking tank on this thing and then me come fix it. Like, it's just truly like something were to mess up and you'd fix it. Position it as, if this were my own driveway and I wanted to last and look good, this is what I would do. I love that. Now you got the best. On-site design consult, discuss widening parking pads. So I like this because it positions you as the expert. Like, there's been times where I've hired people like this, and I'm like, dude, I know it needs to be better, and I know there's things that I don't know. Can you just come and tell me like what needs to be done here? Like, if I put, like, I want a parking area here, but if I do that, is it going to screw this other area? Is it going to be a pain in the butt to, navigate around or move, or things that I didn't think about, like you need a turnaround, or if you have a parking pad, you won't have to be shuffling around your vehicles all the time. Full regrade with laser string line to optimize drainage. Again, this could be something that a lot of companies already do. You may already do that, but you're positioning it as a higher level of service. And then therefore you're giving more value so you can charge more. Drainage improvements, premium gravel. I don't know as much, but I can tell you I've had the same guys who built my shop brought in some freaking 2-inch rocks, and I've been dealing with that problem for 2 years in my driveway. And it drives me nuts. So, but they probably did that to save money because they didn't give me package options. They just said, this is what it costs. If they would have given me an option where I could have had better gravel so that I don't have to run over 2-inch rocks every time I'm walking or driving in my driveway, I would have taken them up on that option, but they didn't offer it. Heavier total thickness, upgraded edging, cleaner shoulders, 24-month plus 1 free tune-up a year. I mean, if you're charging 2x your normal price, I'm pretty sure you could throw in a 1 free tune-up a year. And you're charging way more than what that's worth, but it's a huge value. And that's risk reversal as well. If you're saying I'm willing to come back and tune this up for you within the next 12 months, I mean, that's just a huge risk reversal. And then priority scheduling. This is something that guys do not offer enough. Like, hey, yeah, if you want me to move you up in front of other people, fine. That's fine. I'll just charge you more. People like that. People with money like that. Speed, value, risk reversal. People planning to stay, hate mud and ruts, want it to look like a driveway, not a tractor path. Love that. How to sell it, present the best first. Doug, you asked that question earlier. If you want this to look great, hold up for years, the least headaches, this is our transformation package. Having a unique mechanism or a cool name is something that's overlooked. Very good. Show the better as the smart value, like, hey, most homeowners choose this. That's your middle package that you want to sell. And then in your back pocket, just to make sure that you close as many people as you can close, if they legitimately can't afford. Now, this doesn't mean they like make a funny face and you're like, oh, okay, I'll do the cheapest for you. If literally the reason they don't choose this is because they just cannot afford it, then you've got this one. And close with an A/B choice based on what you told me. Would you rather go with the durable upgrade or the full transformation? And then, of course, back to Austin's, be quiet. I think that's a pretty darn good option, Doug.
Doug, thoughts, feedback. This really helps me understand how to separate options and develop pricing tiers. Awesome. Some good stuff. Got to pay for the machine now. No, I feel you paying on the machines. Yeah, let me know what your thoughts are there. Feel free to post those in the chat. I'm going to break it down here too. Just on some simple tweaks that I would make based on mountain markets. So to start with, we did and still do offer driveway grading as part of Bear Claw. In the early days, I didn't know if I was going to be a forestry company or an excavation company, to be straightforward. And that's why I chose like a very general name. And I've shared that before. That was, if I could go back and tell myself again, I would go all in on one industry and just be super confident after doing the initial testing for the demand that we're going to go dominate that one specific and just become the best we can be, right, at that one service. And so after reading through offers, I've thought about how this applies to driveway grading. But Jacob touched on something earlier. When you're running multiple businesses, like, you've got to have multiple brains to shift into. And whenever you shift into driveway grading, that's taking time away from your land clearing or your forestry mulching, right? And that's just pure facts. So what we've decided to do internally is for those of you who've been following the podcast, you know that we made a decision to focus and specialize. Like we're doing our land clearing work for the fire mitigation out here. That's our niche. Now we position our driveway grading as an upsell in the sales process, which we can do a total different episode on. If I was going the driveway grading route, which I believe is a great business model, especially in these rural, especially in rural Western mountain towns. Why? Because if they're gravel driveways, we all get snowpack, the snow melts and it just washes out if the driveway is not built perfectly or if it's not built by a professional. It creates recurring problems. Therefore, it is a hot button. So it's a necessary service in these towns. So two options at a high level that I've thought about. One, structuring a good, better, best option like this for driveways. The second option that we'll save for another podcast episode is pairing driveways and snow plowing together as one service, because every single one of us, and if you're a Western contractor, you know the pain that we all deal with, which is seasonality. We either have to plow snow in the winter because that's the most logical service that makes sense for the equipment that we do have, or we have to shut down our business because snowpack is simply too high in most of these mountain towns, right? Some of you out there who don't have snowpack, if you can go year round, you're the lucky ones, right? Keep pouring gas on that fire. But the other option that I've thought about is pairing the two together and coming up with a good, better, best option based on the fact that you have to choose a service provider for your snow plowing every year, and then pair up your driveway grading as part of the premium option after snow melt. So we'll save that one for another one. I'm going to keep my focus here. So good, better, best on this option. I like it. The main thing I would change here for the best driveway transformation package is I would add recycled asphalt right here.
Ooh, I like that. I didn't even that I forget they call that something like chip seal or something.
No, that is for asphalt.
Oh, okay.
Recycled asphalt is essentially crushed asphalt. So they mill up the asphalt, like you've seen them, the big milling machines on the highways.
Uh-huh.
They mill it up, it crushes it, they send it to the aggregate pit, and then we as contractors or the customer, if they have an account at the aggregate pit, can purchase. We call it recycle asphalt. Some people call it crushed asphalt.
Oh,
It's
okay.
much more expensive, but it's a way more beautiful aesthetic.
Uh-huh. Oh,
So it's black. It kind of looks like asphalt. It's way better than it looks way better than what we call Class C, which is just road-based gravel material here.
yeah,
And everywhere in the country, they're going to call it something different.
yeah.
But
It'll
it's
be
just like the brown traditional gravel, right?
yeah,
Um, so that's how I would change it for mountain towns, Doug, is I would for sure, without a doubt, position this as recycled asphalt. And then I would do normal road base in this one because it's much less expensive. Now, the interesting thing to note about it, and people always ask whenever they ask for the recycled asphalt pricing, when we give them a quote for just Class C material and then the same thing with recycled asphalt, they're like, it's really that expensive? And it's like, it really is. So I love how they're recommending that you position more into this offer because your cost of goods sold is going to go up regardless when you offer this one.
yeah,
So positioning it as a value, especially if you're like, for example, like if you were to do a $5,000 driveway at this, and then this one was $10,000, you might actually need to be more than 2x your better pricing because of your cost of goods sold. So that's something interesting to note here. I
yeah,
would encourage guys to just go get your pricing on your material and know what each tandem dump truck load of material costs you. And then dictate your pricing accordingly. Yeah, I think everything else looks very straightforward. like I would want to spend some more time with this to finalize this if we were to adopt it internally in our business, which we're not because I'm not allocating brain space to this on the front end. But if I was a driveway grading company, positioning my branding as a driveway grading company, I would absolutely go good, better, best in some way, shape, or form.
100%.
This is important, regrading for proper crown. Something we get requested a lot, and you mentioned this, Jacob, is let's see, where did it? So this one doesn't really break it down. Full driveway assessment and basic drainage check. So the ditches fill in at runoff. So you'll get runoff, and then your drainage ditches on the sides of your driveway, if you have a proper crown, will fill up with silt or gravel, and they'll get plugged up. Culverts get plugged up a lot. So that's another thing I would position in here. As part of this drainage check, I would include like a full drainage ditching service, and you're going to have to bring a mini X out there to do that with a grade bucket that can ditch properly.
And I think a huge point to be made here is like you and the competitor or you and your colleague, whatever, they may do the same thing, but the person who shows what they do is going to look more valuable than the next one. Like if you put and or say all these things that you're doing versus the next guy, you are going to look more valuable. They're going to think, because this has happened to me. They're like, oh, well, this guy's offering this, and this. And I'm like, well, so do we, but we just didn't tell them that.
Mm.
So having some of these things in here, even though they may seem like obvious to us, not obvious to the customer. So the more things that you can show them the value you're bringing, the better.
Yeah. And this person right here, when you go do this basic job, 9 times out of 10, they're gonna be like, hey, while you're here, can you clean out my ditches? And if you
Yeah.
show up with a skid steer and a bucket, have fun ditching. You know what I mean? So like we need to be able to catch that before so that we can plan our pricing accordingly. And Doug, specifically in your example, I know you're starting out, like knowing that ahead of time before the job that you need to coordinate a mini X and a grade bucket to go make sure that that's included in this package or this package is going to save you a headache on the back end. Because
Yeah.
that's, you mentioned it earlier, Jacob, the worst thing is getting to the end of the job and then being like, hey, while you're here, you mind if you just do that real quick?
Yeah. Well, and like I know, like as a customer, I prefer when the contractor like gives me suggestions and I really like it. If they're like, oh man, like, yeah, in your situation, you would actually want to do this, and this, and that's why. And I not only do I like that, I kind of expect it, and I feel like I maybe didn't get as much value as I should have if people aren't doing that. And I'm not worried about if it's costing more. Like if you're here and you're taking the time and we've coordinated a project for you to be at my house, I want you to offer me like the best scenario for me. And ideally, if you can pull that up front would be amazing, but just in general, like I people are so scared and I have been there to offer more things that cost more money. But people want that. And sometimes they don't know what they need. And they will appreciate you coming in as the expert and explaining that to them. Like, hey, you actually need or you would be better off or you would really like if this was done because of this and this. And just be confident in that. And like people with real money, you'll almost insult them by being like, yeah, but it's going to cost some more money if you they're like, what, you think I can't afford this?
Mm-hmm.
um Great example of this. Do you know who Parker McCullum is?
Yeah.
So he's a country artist, right? He lives in our town. I went to his house. He got a giant house, of course, and he wanted pressure washing done. And I was walking around with him, and he was like, "I want this clean, this clean, this clean." And I was like, "Okay, okay, okay." And I was like, "What about the roof?" And he was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, that'd be good." And I was like, "Man, this is a big roof. It's probably gonna cost a lot of money." And he was like, "What are we talking? Like 5, 10, 15?" And I was like, "No, like the whole project will be less than $5,000. It's just the roof will be like another 1,000 or something." And he's like, "Oh, okay, whatever." Luckily, he's like a really cool laid back dude, but like going back, I'm like, I'm such a silly man. Like I should not have said that. Like, of course he can afford it. We're walking around. He's got 2 pools. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, dude, the roof might cost you a little extra." Like, oh my gosh. But anyways, fun
Oh
story.
man, that's
People
good.
want people want the value.
Well, and your ideal customers have more money than they have time, and therefore they
Correct.
just want it done, and they done it one correct the first time. Because even when you're on a site visit with that person, they're like their internal clock is ticking like, "Man, I got like 3 meetings to go to right now. I got like, I gotta go to the bank. I gotta wire this $100,000 check. I gotta wire it." It's like that's what's going through that person's mind, and you're like, "Ugh," and not to knock you, Jacob, but I'm just using this as an
Yeah.
example because I've done it before plenty of times. It's like, "Well, that's gonna be $2,500." It's like, "It's gonna be 3,500, but I can do it for 25." It's like, and I feel like contract like, look, I grew up working concrete, like we're all we're all about making deals, you know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
it's just like it's just the culture of us as blue collar people, right? Like I'll give you a better price. Like,
Yeah.
but in all reality, you just got to transform your mindset around this and be like, look, sometimes better price or getting a deal on something isn't the trigger point for making somebody purchase. For the ideal client, it's like, hey, how fast can you tell me how much this is going to cost me and how fast can you get in and get out and just not waste my time? Like,
Yeah. Well, and if you give them a better price, and what I see, like there's 2 types of, and I think of contract, the highest level of contractor is these dudes developing massive developments and building, like the Tesla Gigafactory or, something huge, right? And there's 2 different types. There's the type who give the best price, and then they have to submit 37 change orders to get paid more throughout the time. Or there's the guy who just priced it right. And guess what? They're sitting happy, making bunches of money. Their subcontractors are making bunches of money. They're paying them on time. They're paying them well. Everyone's happy. The job site runs better. It's just a win-win for everybody. But the guys operating at that high level, they're not giving you the deal price. And to be honest, I just recently learned about this, but at the highest level, most of the time, they all have the same subcontractors anyways. Some of them have like 2 corporations and they're bidding on the same job with 2 different companies, but it's the same person. Like, don't try to win with the best price. But yes, I also definitely grew up that way of, oh yeah, I'll give you a better price, but it just doesn't do it.
we've covered a lot here. Doug, what other questions do you have? Anybody else on here who has got a specific question about good, better, best pricing? And should you show your pricing on your website? While we're waiting for anybody else to chime in, Jacob, what are just like the next 3 actionable steps that you would recommend somebody who has been listening to this are like, all right, I get it, guys. I need to add my pricing to my website. What are the next 3 steps you recommend they do, like right now?
I'm tempted to just say, talk about it every day, post it on your website, post it on your socials, have it on your frequently asked questions, and look towards having an actual tool for people to be able to figure this out on your website. But now that we've come full circle with this, I'm realizing some of y'all need to know your price. you know, know your price and put a good one out there. And especially after seeing yours and then that example we gave of just really building the value of it as well. That is going to really help you out. So you need to have basically you need to have it on there no matter what. But ideally, you're going to have a good range that has reasoning behind it for that good, better, best. Now, if you're just going to put a range in your frequently asked questions at the bottom of the website, the minimum should be your good and the maximum should be your better, right? And just give that range. But having good reasons behind it is super important, and making sure you have that high tier option is going to help you sell your core offer more and make you more money when that high value person comes along. But the big, 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 big thing is if you don't have pricing on your website, Google and AI are not going to recommend you. And very soon, not only are they not going to recommend you, they're going to filter you out. So if you want to be relevant, you're going to have to do this in the next 18 to 36 months. But if you do it now, you'll be able to do it, and you'll be able to do it and scoop up more than a fair market share because so many people are not doing it right now. Startup plan
Cool.
release.
Looks like we got some questions coming in. Jacob, I'll let you take those here as you read through them. While Jacob's reading through those questions, I do want to say a quick thank you to our sponsor for this episode, Jobber. I've been using Jobber from day one for sending fast estimates, scheduling our jobs on the back end, sending invoices, and collecting payments. I did a lot of research whenever I was starting Bear Claw, and I'm kind of a software nerd because I like efficiency, and I just like clean interfaces and being able to use a tool very simply, quickly, and efficiently. And so, yeah, I looked at House Call Pro, I looked at Jobber, I'm trying to remember the other one. But ultimately, I made a decision to use Jobber in the early days, and I've been using it for 3 years since. They've been sponsoring for the last year. Super great team over there, very easy to use, and Jacob and I both use Go High Level on the back end for our sales and automation, but that's specific to sales and automation, right? The basic tool, if you're just starting out, Jobber is like, you can go get to your first 6 figures. You probably get the Jobber. I think I implemented Go High Level when we hit like the 5 or 600K annual mark. I wish I would have implemented it earlier because those text and email automations that come out definitely increase conversions. But if you're starting out, Jobber, it's the way to go. It's so simple to set up. I've got some free trainings in our school group. So if you guys need any help with that, just jump on over to the school group, and happy to help answer any questions. School.com/ownerops. Jacob, you got some questions in the chat here that we can address too.
Yeah. Maddie H, thanks for jumping in. Yeah, the reason I'll usually dance around between 20 and 40K a month for starting up with us. We have obviously worked with guys that were a little lower than that out the gate. The big thing is that you're already established, getting jobs, making sales, making money before you come in with us. Because the problem is, if we start sending you 50 leads and you don't have a system in place to be able to work 50 leads and do 5 to 10 more jobs a month than you're already currently doing, it's not going to make sense for you to keep paying us 2 to 5,000 a month and 2 to 5,000 in ad spend, right? So you're committing to anywhere between $3,000 and $10,000 a month working with us in terms of RP and ad spend. So that's where that number kind of comes in. The number is not a hard number. It's going to vary depending on your margin and what you're capable of and stuff like that. But this is a really good time to plug Owner Ops program that Austin has, because this is perfect for more so your size, where you're going to be bootstrapping it. You need to get that foundation. You need to get work coming in, and you're at the point where you can do that, but you don't necessarily need to pay me $3,000 a month to help you do that yet. Now, we have had guys that came from other businesses and they had capital and they had the experience to launch that fast, but that's a very small percentage. If you want to have a conversation with me, I would still be glad to have a conversation with you. That's no problem. I can point you in the right direction. But until you're at that point, Austin has a pretty sweet program for showing you how to do all those things yourself and kind of supporting you along the way.
Yeah, and yeah, more than happy to help out however we can. Um, Jacob and I have been doing these podcasts for a while now, and people are probably wondering, it's like, okay, we both talk about ads, like I think some people who have been clicking on my stuff, they're like, are you starting an agency? Are you running ads? And the answer is no. Like Jacob ran our ads all this year. And specifically for the reason that like I love hiring the best people at that job, right? And so like Jacob's team this year helped us. They ran our ads. We had a unique situation here over the winter where it's like we literally have snow on the ground for 5 months out of the year. So yeah, that's like a different conversation. But as far as owner ops go, where I see an opportunity and where Jacob um, has not been able to, well, I shouldn't say not been able to. It's just like he has a very specific person who he can help right now based on what he just said. And so throughout the couple of years of the podcast, I've just noticed this need for people who are getting up and off the ground, but they have the same questions of like, where do I like, what's the 20% that can move the needle 80% of the way, right? And so it's very simple. Like we help guys set up Google business profiles just with like video trainings. We help guys get their first ad campaign launched with just very simple basic and blocking and tackling type ads that Jacob uses, that we've used. And then we help set up the system, right? Because for most of us, we're out running and gunning all the time. I definitely was in the first 2 years of business. I'm in the field, I'm taking calls in the skid steer and sitting down at the computer to do all this stuff. We know we need to do it. We know we need to optimize. It's just finding the time to do it. And so now at this phase of business that I have a team in place and we're optimizing our operations, I'm able to focus more time at the computer. And I like doing this stuff. I genuinely do. I love building the systems and it's very simple. Like we can help you get your Google business profile set up, get your first ad campaign launched and set up your system. So we've got trainings in there. Just jump over in the school group and we're happy to help out.
Post show.
Cool. Maddie H still chiming in. We'll be joining for sure. Get my stuff together. Sold my excavation. Nice. Very cool. Well, good luck with everything. Would love to have you in there. And yeah, like Jacob said, he's happy to jump on a call. I think ultimately the reason Jacob and I keep doing these podcasts is because we have a very similar vision for, I guess, the industry as a whole. And I think you guys, if you followed the podcast, I'm an open book. Like I care about our team and our market here and being the best that we can be. But as far as throughout the rest of the United States, like I just want to help people create great lifestyles, great businesses. There are some mistakes that I've made along the way. I definitely don't have all the answers, but I'm down to share the mistakes I've made, just like Jacob was sharing earlier. And that was the approach we took in the podcast. There's a bunch of podcasts out there where it's like, yeah, I sold a business for 30 million bucks, or I made my first million, right? But where was the podcast for the guys that are like, man, we're literally still in the skid steer and we're just trying to figure out what the next moves are. So my hope with the podcast and the vision is just to continue adding value for those early 0 to 1 phases of business. And I'd love to help as many people get to the 7-figure mark as we can.
100%.
Doug, I just started my business. Yeah, no, I mean, I credit you, man. Like you've been putting in the work. So, and I think this is a good time to talk about this stuff, right? Like there's so much content online right now. My encouragement is, I've said this multiple times on the podcast before, my encouragement is that right after this, like Jacob just gave you so much action that you can go and get, like, this is a huge opportunity. I'm going to go do this even more so on my website because I want to get that search traffic on our local market. Go do that stuff. If you implement this stuff that he's giving away for free, it's going to help you. And then that's going to get you to the level to where, like Jacob knows who he can help by running those ads. Once you get there, it's going to help even more. And it's going to be a good fit for both parties.
100%.
Well, cool. Jacob, anything else you want to touch base on here? Anybody else have any other questions in the chat?
I'm good. That's been awesome.
coming up on 2 hours here. Pricing. Should you put your pricing on your website? Resounding answer is yes. And if you're just tuning in right now to the live stream, this will be posted to the YouTube channel. It will be on Jacob's. You want to share that one? And it will be on mine. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Mine's just Land Clearing Growth.
Cool. And then my YouTube channel is at the owner op, short for the owner operator. And so you can find the live streams right now. This will be published on the Owner Ops podcast on Spotify and Apple as well, in our pre-programmed queue. So this one will likely be published end of Q1 2026 because Jacob's been committed to showing up every week, and we'll continue to do the live streams 7 a.m. Mountain Time, 8 a.m. Central, Friday mornings. Bring your questions. We want to help answer them, and with the goal of helping you build a better business. Thanks again for tuning in to another episode. We'll see you guys next week.